Welcome back. Let's now look at other things supported to access the data from Cosmos DB. Let me click on the three dots here and then click on New Notebook. As you can see, you've got more options here. We got the option to load the data to a data frame so you can do whatever you want it to do within Spark, and you can write data from your data frame back to the Cosmos DB container. You can create a Spark table and you could do streaming as well. So let's talk about these two. As you can see, Load to Data Frame gives us the ability to query the data from Cosmos DB Analytical Store and then store that information in a data frame and do everything within Spark you normally would do. But this is the important thing, which is the differentiation between Serverless Pool and the Spark Pool. The Spark Pool gives us the ability to write the data back into Azure Cosmos DB container. So for example, your use case might be that actually you want to read data from your analytical store, do some machine learning and write the results back into Cosmos DB transactional store. So that's used by the business applications. So let me click on Write Data Frame to Container. As you can see, the format here is cosmos.oltp. So you may have done a lot of work here, but then Spark got a dataset you want to write back into a container and Cosmos DB used this to write back into Cosmos DB. So I just wanted to show you this. But our primary objective here is to read the data from our analytical store. So let me again click on your notebook and click on Load to Data Frame this time. And as you can see, the difference between the other one I showed you and this is that we're using Cosmos.olap, which is the analytical processing engine to get the data. So this is going to read the data from your analytical store rather than the transactional store. And that's what we want to do for analytical purposes. And there is nothing more, or you don't have to specify any credentials or anything like that. It takes all of that information from the link service. So we got the Spark.link service configuration property being set to our link service. And then we've got the container being sent to Heartbeat. And that should give us the data back. So we're going to use Spark.read method to get the data from Cosmos DB Analytical Store and bring that into this data frame. And you can do anything you normally would do with a data frame within Spark. But we're just doing a display of the data here and limiting to top 10 records. We've only got 5 records, so it doesn't matter. And let's attach the notebook to the Spark pool that we've created, which is our Learn Synapse pool. And let's click on the Run. And that should start the Spark process. It'll take a few minutes because I haven't got the Spark pool up and running at the moment. As you can see, the execution has now successfully completed and we've got the 5 records here that be inserted into Cosmos DB, so all of that information's here. You can use that information in your processing and you can do whatever you like. So you can come up with some aggregations and you can track that data back to a Spark table and that be replicated in Serverless SQL pool as well. And you can use something like Power BI to access that data, or you can use this information in your machine learning projects and things like that. Let me show you one more thing before we finish this lesson, because things like Cosmos Change Feed one-day deals with inserts and updates. They don't deal with deletes, but Synapse Link also caters for delete. So if you deleted a record from Cosmos DB, for example, that would be reflected within the data we are seeing in the analytical store as well. So let's go over to our Cosmos DB account and let's delete one of the records. So I'm going to click on Items and I'm going to say Delete the records with the device ID 5. So you just click on Delete and then click Delete here and that should now disappear. So that's disappeared from here. But if we go over to a Spark and then run it, it may bring back all the 5 records, but after a couple of minutes, the record that we deleted should drop off. So as we said, we are seeing all the 5 records, but let's wait for the replication to complete, which will be a couple of minutes. As you can see, Van every execute and this statement here, after a couple of minutes the records with the driver ID 5 and the device ID 5 has disappeared from the list. So the data has been deleted in our analytical store as well, which is great. So we effectively have a full solution of replicating our data from Cosmos DB transactional store to analytical store, including inserts, updates, and deletes. Which is brilliant because we don't have to do anything and A0 takes care of all of that behind the scenes and we can use an apps to query that data. Let me quickly save this notebook before we finish this session. Again, I'm going to put it under NYC Taxi and I'm going to create a new subfolder and call this one a Synapse Link and I'm going to give it a meaningful name here and let me click Publish. And that's the end of this session. I'll see you in the next one.